All right. Well, thank you for attending the Masters of Advanced Study in Engineering, aka Mass E, graduate writing workshop. Thank you. We're going to go through the essays that are required in the application, and this is being recorded. So for folks who couldn't make it today, we will be making it available. We will be making this recording. We'll add captions, and we will make this available on our YouTube channel next week, likely. All right, so let's get started. Um, so welcome and the agenda. So we're going to talk about the value of statements, specifically the personal history statement and common themes that folks have kind of used in the past, the statement of purpose, and then in closing, we're going to have talk about overarching points, and then we'll finish with a Q&A. So, and, I'm Janine Bernard. I'm the Associate Director of Student Services and Operations, and I'm joined here by Nabiha Ali, Student Services Advisor, as well as Maritza Perez, who is also a Student Services Advisor, and we will be adding her picture soon to these slides. So you might be asking yourself, what is the value of the personal history statement and statement of purpose? Um, so we'll go into personal history statement first. So number one, suggested length is 1,000 words or less. So 1,000 words maximum, less is better. Make sure to be clear, concise, and relevant. That means, use if you could use two words instead of four, please do so. It packs more of a punch and it gets to your point quicker. The reviewers will be reading hundreds of these applications. So, you also want to make your points salient and clear. Um, so do not assume that reviewers will make any connections for you in your statement. And we'll get into example of that, what that exactly means. And it's essentially in this personal history statement, you can include any relevant information in terms of the following: how you have overcome barriers to access higher education. So, for example, provide context for any gaps or inconsistencies in grades or test scores. So, for example, if you had a bad semester and it affected your GPA, but all your other semesters are well, you did well in terms of GPA. Maybe you were sick that semester. Maybe you were taking care of somebody who was sick. So make sure to make that point, because otherwise the reviewer wouldn't know, right, what the extenuating circumstances were that affected your grade. Because you're not just a student, you're also a person with a family, with health, with your health, with others' health. Maybe you had to work two jobs. We don't know. So make sure you let us know if you, like I said, if there's any inconsistency or if there's something that you feel needs a little bit of an explanation. Or if you haven't overcome any barriers or haven't needed to overcome any barriers, how have you come to understand the barriers faced by others? So, in terms of, have you worked with underserved populations? What are some things that you feel that you've helped in your work in terms of clubs, volunteer, your research? That's also an important thing to highlight. Maybe you volunteered as a after school tutor for, inner city schools. Um, another thing you can write about is any academic service to advance equitable access to higher education for women, racial minorities, and individuals from other groups that have been historically underrepresented in higher education. So again, maybe you are tutoring, maybe you are, maybe you established a maybe you established some kind of center or helped at a center that, women in STEM or something like that. So not only what barriers you've overcome, but maybe what barriers you see that other people experience, and thus want to kind of alleviate that through your training in this program. And again, any research focusing on underserved populations or any issues related to inequality, your leadership among such groups, like did you spearhead an initiative? Were you in charge of managing volunteers? Um, and so allow yourself to reflect and express any key experiences that have prepared you or motivated you to pursue graduate school and in the field of engineering. So think about what it is that's motivating you, what it is that's you're passionate about, and how you seek to pursue that through this graduate school enrollment and training. So again, highlight your passion, maturity, focus, and strong motivation. So maybe you've been out of school for a while, but the nature of your job, you help others or you see how others need to be helped, and that's what's motivating you. Again, maximum word count, 1,000 words. Um, One key thing to remember, the personal history statement is not just it's not just a copy of the statement of purpose. And we can get into exact distinctions or distinctions that will better discern what each essay is for. And now, in terms of the statement of purpose, also keep your statement to about 1,000 words or less. Everything that you include in this essay should be directly related to becoming a successful student at the UC Berkeley Masters of Advanced Study in Engineering program, so the Mass E program. So anything in terms of, think of the statement of purpose as kind of like your action items, right? This is what I'm coming to school for. I may have this experience, but there are gaps in my knowledge that I then want to explore through this training. Um, and then each statement you make should have a purpose, right? Like everything should tie back to the thesis of your paper. Like what are you trying to convey? And everything should support that thesis statement of why Berkeley, why now, why this program, what do you want to accomplish in your future? And then each sentence should contribute to your candidacy for admission into the program. So how is it that you're, again, talk about what this program can mean to you, the area the area of concentration you're applying to, how do you plan to use that training in order to, succeed not just in the program, but in your chosen career field. And in terms of the prompt for the statement of purpose, again, we keep reiterating 1,000 words or less. Again, reviewers will be reading a lot of these, and so you want to make it clear to them and explicit, and be mindful of that word limit. And also, again, it's a good practice in terms of being succinct, being concise, saying more with less words. Your statement should describe your career goals and how this program will meet your professional aspirations. So, if you're entering the field, tell us about your engineering interests and the skills you wish to acquire during your program of study. So, what is it that you're being trained in, that you want to be trained in, that you can use, that is applicable to your career goals? And please just also describe how you hope or expect to contribute to improving engineering in your future professional endeavors. So yeah, depending on the concentration you're interested in, how would that improve, how would that improve life for others? In our other program, Master of Engineering, we have a lot of students who, for example, want to use bioengineering for biomedical devices that will help underserved populations in the developing world. And So stuff like that. Well, how is it that this training is going to be helpful to what you see is needed, I guess, in the world, and what you could use the skills you're learning in engineering to better. Um, and so in terms of the prompt itself, again, make sure you're very clear and explicit in addressing the following. So, what is it in your background or history or training or experience, whether personal, professional, academic? What is it in all of those experiences that has led you to pursue graduate training and or a career in engineering? Um, what are your future goals? What are your eventual career goals in the engineering profession? So, what is it that you want to um, accomplish either outside of this program or because of this program? What do you feel this is the opening? What is this opening the door for you? Or how do you think it's opening the door for you? And then why are you applying to this specific degree program and area of concentration? What is it about the Mass E? Is it the fact that it's online, that it's has the concentrations you like? Um, just in or in the area of concentration, again, always tying that back to what it is that your aspirations are, and how do you want to achieve those, and how will you take advantage of our program. So that should say flexible. So it's actually very flexible. um, we pride ourselves in the Mass E. It's flexible. It can take anywhere from 2 to 4 years to complete. And we haven't graduated a class just yet because we started our first cohort, entered in fall 24. So depending on how many courses they take per term, then that entails when they're going to graduate. And so, how will you take advantage of this opportunity? It can be fast paced if you want to take extra classes, or it can be at your leisure. It can be however long it takes, up to 4 years. And there's classes in fall, spring, and summer. And then finally, why UC Berkeley? What is it about maybe the university's reputation, things you've heard, the history of what you know, alumni and faculty of Berkeley have accomplished throughout the over 150 years of existence. I believe 1868 is when we first incorporated the University of California. So, what is it that speaks to you? Be specific about why UC Berkeley and the Mass E program would be a good intellectual fit for you. Do you like the flexibility? Do you like the classes, the slate of classes offered? Um, and maybe you've seen things in other departments and other institutions, but yeah, so make sure that you speak to that. And some overarching points. So each statement should be within approximately 1,000 words again. It's to your advantage to keep your statement clear, concise, and relevant. Again, repeating that from the beginning. Don't assume that the reviewers would make the connections for you. Again, if you feel like there is a gap in your transcript or something else, make sure you address it and say, I was sick that semester, or I had to work 2 jobs, or I was taking care of somebody who was sick, or sometimes people are just not good test takers. They have all the knowledge in their brain, but it's hard for them to get that out in specified allotted time. Um, Make sure you check and revise your formatting and spelling. If possible, please plan for 2 to 3 people to provide feedback on your drafts. Um, and again, so include any experiences and or circumstances that have an impact on your candidacy as an applicant, but don't directly, but not directly related to you pursuing graduate education. So anything that gives the context of your life. Say, when I was a kid, I really wanted to, know more about engineering. So that's more of a personal history statement thing. Maybe, anything that you had, again, anything that you overcame outside of your kind of candidacy, impact of your candidacy should be in the personal history statement. The more directly related an experience is to your career goals in engineering, then that should be put into the statement of purpose. Statement of purpose is kind of like, these are the things that I want to do. I want, like, I'm acting like I'm writing it down, but these are the things that I want to learn. I want to take this class and I want to learn about this and I want, to use that in my future career as I don't know, working in sustainability or something like that. And then whereas a personal history statement is kind of like, it's more personal and talks about kind of the experiences that led you to these specific goals that you have for a career. And so those are that's the end of my slides. We only have two folks here, so I'm happy to take as many questions as you like. You can tell us whether you've started an application, are thinking about starting an application, or whatever you choose. So, and if you can't think of anything right now, please visit our website, mass-e.engineering.berkeley.edu or mass-e-support at berkeley.edu. And so we're happy to take your questions and any feedback.